Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, senior NFL insider for ESPN, Adam Schefter. You can tell Schefter looks very flexible right now because he did a 2-hour stretching routine this morning that we caught him in the middle of.
2 hours?
It could have been. It could have been. I mean,
yoga.
Look like how you feeling? You feel good, Shefty?
Feel okay, Pat. Yeah, feel okay. We're hanging in there. Yep.
Hey, well, look alive. We're in the middle of football season, Shefty.
We are. It's great. I'll tell you what. There are no shortage of storylines in the National Football League. It is unbelievable. It's a tidal wave of storylines that come at you every single day.
Amen. So let's talk about the one that we just got done kind of having a conversation. It's going to be adding to a storyline in a pretty big way. Aaron comes on, tells the way his day went yesterday. He said he was in the training room whenever he found out. He did talk to Woody on Monday, but it was a quick conversation about his ankle and how he was feeling, which Woody Johnson just wanted to see how it was going. From your standpoint, I don't know if you heard the entire conversation with Aaron,
I did.
But is there any information that you have learned of the situation that maybe we didn't hear or didn't cover, or from a different angle out of the entire situation yesterday of Saleh getting fired?
Look, I might be naive, but I thought Aaron came off as very believable. I really did. Like Woody Johnson calling to check in on his ankle. That sounds plausible. Short conversation. Sounds plausible. He's in the training room when he hears. I believe all that. Now, I believe also that this had been coming for a long time. There were conversations at the end of last season about whether or not they should make a change. They didn't make the change. They obviously were thinking about it. At least Woody Johnson was thinking about it all along. And if we go back, I know it's Woody's organization, and he is the final say on everything. But the fact of the matter is that when Robert Saleh was hired, he also was serving as the ambassador for the United States and the United Kingdom. And I still think that Christopher Johnson was the guy that made the call. He doesn't make the call without Woody's blessing, but Christopher Johnson hires him, and I don't know that Robert Saleh was ever Woody's guy. So you had that in the background the entire time. What's interesting is the margin in this league is so small, right? If they win that game on Sunday, does Robert Saleh get fired yesterday? And I would say the answer to that would be no, that they would keep rolling with him. But they had 2 bad back-to-back losses. The last one comes in England, where Woody was an ambassador, where he's got lots of friends. And in my mind, that probably was the last straw. And he decided to make the change for something that had been on his mind, that he had thought about. And I would imagine that we'll hear more and more about this particular situation. There'll be more and more storylines that emerge. Oh, did you hear this happen? Did you hear that happen? But I don't believe that Aaron ordered that firing or was in on the firing or anything like that after listening to Aaron Rodgers. I don't.
Okay, so knowing Woody a lot better than us too, I would assume as well. And you said, he potentially felt as if Robert Saleh was never his guy. Did Robert Saleh know that from Woody? And you said this is potentially a long time coming, and maybe just a cherry on top, being in England in front of the lads that you had built up your ambassador friendship with around town, and losing and flying home with that entire thing. Do you think Coach Saleh knew there was a possibility of this happening during the season?
Oh, I think when anybody works anywhere, you know the relationships you have with certain people. You know who you feel like is in your corner and who is not in your corner. And I don't think it was any different with Robert Saleh. I'm sure he knew that there were feelings that existed between he and Woody, whatever those were. And again, I'm sure he felt support, but I'm sure he felt the situation being tenuous as well, both. So in the end, ultimately, he loses his job. He has a year left in his contract after the season. And the one thing I could say is, even yesterday, I heard from a number of coaches across the league. They're like, Robert Saleh, great coach. He's going to have zero problem getting another head coaching or defensive coordinator job. Like all his friends would be interested, I think, in bringing him back to their staffs. San Francisco, Matt LaFleur's his good friend. Adam Peters in Washington's his good friend. He's got so many good friends across the league, and he's so respected. Robert Saleh's going to have options next year about where he wants to work, in my mind.
You think next year, right? Because that was an immediate thought by some fan base who's like, all right, let him go on a vacation here, get past it, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then boom, drop him in as defensive coordinator for the playoff stretch down the road. You think definitely no coaching this year for Coach Saleh?
That's a hard question to answer because I think Robert has to take some time. I will say this. I do think that working in this market affected him. I think he got a little bit beat up mentally. I think that it wore him down a little bit. I think it drained some of the enthusiasm that he had for the game. I think that, unfortunately, he let all the outside noise get to him at times. And to do that job in any market requires you to put on the blinders and block out the noise as best as you can. And inevitably, you can't tune out all that noise. And if you're a human being, it's hard not to let it affect you in some type of way. And in this particular case, I think coaching in New York got to him a little bit. And it's not an easy job to be a head coach in the NFL anywhere, but it's especially difficult doing it in New York. And it's especially difficult when you're losing games. And it's especially difficult when you're in the New York market, you're losing games, and you have the owner that didn't hire you to begin with. You put all that together, and it wears you out. So in my mind, he's got to take a little bit of time, decompress. In another month or two, he might want to come back and coach in the playoffs. In all probability, there's no rush to get back into anything. It's more important for him to be with his family and his children, and there'll be a job waiting for him after the season, a job of his choosing, waiting somewhere, and he can go do that at that point in time. There's no need to rush back in to go do something right now when you've been through the mental ordeal that you've been through the last 4 or so years. So my guess would be that he's going to be sidelined for the remainder of the season. He'll be back next season, but let's see how he feels in another month or two.
I'm just learning of the aspect and the thought of him knowing that the owner doesn't think he's his guy either. And then every time the media says anything, he's like, that might be the owner, literally.
Yeah.
That might be the owner feeding.
Wow.
Like the mental games that could play. To your point about being exhausting, like I would assume that does get a bit exhausting. And I actually led the show talking about the situation about when Saleh leaves the Niners, he's like charismatic, jovial, array of energy, literally on the field.
Right. You could see the highlights of him on the sideline, jumping around, running with it. Did you see that with the Jets?
Well, he's told by Aaron,
defeated, a little subdued, right?
What am I here for?
You
can't act like myself.
Yeah, and with the Niners, they were dominating everybody.
Crushing.
That was so much fun for him. Like, just going after it, and then start losing, then owner, whatever the case. Hopefully he does get back into the game sooner than later for us, but for himself, hopefully he does find that football joy again. Not saying he lost his passion, but the joy is what we really enjoyed over there in San Francisco. Go ahead, AJ.
Schefter, where does the Jets GM Joe Douglas fall in all of this? I don't hear him getting brought up a lot. Are he and Woody on the same page? Like, was he aware of this? Have you heard anything about that?
I'm sure Joe had to be aware of it in advance. And I'm sure that Woody told Joe, because I can't imagine an owner just firing a head coach and the GM getting an alert that your head coach has been fired. Like, that's not practical in today's day and age. I don't know when he knew, but obviously he had to know. And Joe Douglas is in his own challenging situation with his contract being up after this year. So if I could probably go inside the mind of Woody for a moment, he probably says, okay, you know what? We have, in my mind, the best roster that we've had during my ownership as the New York Jets, including teams that under Rex Ryan and Mike Tannenbaum went to back-to-back AFC championship games. He believes, right or wrong, that this roster is better and more talented. So now I'm going to pick a guy that I think is very well respected in this locker room, a guy that I think is going to bring some energy. Let's see what Jeff Ulbrich does with this opportunity. We got a GM who's on the last year of his deal. And if they have the type of run that Woody is hoping, maybe he runs it back with everybody. And if he doesn't, then he's got no obligations to anybody to do anything, and he can start over. So literally he's got all the options out in front of him, and it'll be up to this team to determine how he handles the organization going forward.
The interim coaching success rate, not great if you go through the history and then getting the job back and having success in the future and everything. They're bringing that up with the Raiders right now with Antonio Pierce. Not that it's fair. I'm just saying that is what brings up these stats. The Jets are going to be added to that. From what you're saying, though, it sounds like Woody Johnson, obviously, let's try to go on a run. I like the talent of the roster. I asked you on Monday after that Jets game where Garrett Wilson was targeted like 23 times or 22 times, and Alan Lazar got the ball a little bit, but nobody else really. Did this expedite the Davante Adams trade talk to the Jets because they need another weapon, maybe? Because if they score a touchdown there, they just beat the undefeated Vikings. Maybe Davante opens that up for them to do that. You said you didn't think that expedited it. Now, fire coach, head coach. That are Jets off the table for Davante Adams in trade talks, or are they going all in here for this? How do you think they view the situation for Davante?
Well, here's where it stands in my mind. We are now at Wednesday afternoon, 1:15 Eastern. And the fact that there has been no Davante Adams trade this week would tell you that any Davante Adams trade is going to wait another week now. Because in the NFL, most every big move transactionally, if it's a trade, is going to occur Monday and Tuesday while teams are coming up with their game plans, getting ready to be on the practice field Wednesday. I think if we went back and looked at all the big trades that were made in season, very few of them are made once you get past Tuesday in season. So we are at a spot now where it looks like the Raiders are going to be paying Davante Adams another $970,000 this week not to play another game.
Got Hampshire.
And another situation where last week we thought the Jets and the Saints were the most logical landing spots. Well, the Jets lost another game. Owner's not happy. Owner fires head coach. I don't know if they're thinking about trading for a wide receiver, certainly not with what the Raiders are asking for, which is a second-round draft pick. The Saints lose their quarterback to an oblique injury. He's going to miss, it sounds like, multiple games right now. We'll see when Derek Carr can make it back. So by the time he gets back, are they still in the thick of the playoff race? Can their new quarterback, whoever it is, keep them afloat until they want to get back there? Is Davante as enthused about being traded to New Orleans today?
Boy.
So the Jets and the Saints both have taken some hits in the last week here that you wouldn't have imagined. And I do think that that's opened the window for some other teams to just kind of sniff around and see what it might be and just kind of lurk on the outside in the event that things fall through with the two teams that Davante initially wanted to play for, which were the Jets and the Saints.
All right. Well, he's probably coming to the Colts, which is good news for us. Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, and Davante Adams with Joey Flacco.
Nice.
Okay.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. And Joey Flacco, Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor's going to get healthy. He's going to be back there. Sermon. I mean, the Colts are in it. Don't you worry about it. I don't know that for sure, but in my mind, we're definitely in there. Let's go back to the Jets here. Tone has a question for you, Schefty.
Yeah, Schefty. Aaron talked about how the offense hasn't been great, and there was the rumors about Hackett and what he was going to be as a play caller or not. He's going to respect whatever Coach Ulbrich decides to do on the offensive side of the ball. I saw the report that potentially Todd Downing, who used to be the Titans OC, could take over play calling there. Have you heard anything situationally about the OC situation in New York?
Good question, Tone. And I would say this, that Aaron and his answer there to me were quite revealing. That was very interesting because that certainly sounded like somebody who had an idea that Todd Downing might be the play caller. And obviously that had been an issue that had come up this past week. And the fact that he said that leads me to believe.
Did you just broke news through Aaron's mouth? You knew that was is that what just happened there?
No. I'm reading between the lines. If he's saying I'm good with however this is going to go, right?
And what
clearly there's a decision that has to be made. And if he's bringing that up, that he's good with however it's going to go, then and there's a new coach. Look, here's the bottom line.
Here's bottom line. I was told this. Aaron confirmed it. We move forward. Is that what you're going to say?
Pat, I think you should give up this gig and become an insider and get right to the point and deliver the news the way it is, right?
No way. I couldn't fathom your life. I wouldn't want it. But it is interesting how your answer went to.
So let me get back to my bottom line.
Yes, please.
Jeff Ulbrich is the new head coach. Jeff Ulbrich gets to decide who's going to be calling plays Monday night against Buffalo and for the remainder of the season with him being a head coach. That is his first big decision. The fact that it's even up as a decision, to me, it's sort of like a coach who says, well, we're thinking about making a quarterback change. Once you start having that out there that you're thinking about, to me, it's in the process of happening. It's in motion. So we'll wait to see what Jeff Ulbrich decides. Maybe he sticks with Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator, or maybe he decides to go with some new ideas here and go with Todd Downing.
Got it.
We'll see.
Okay, new head coach, new situation. Does it change anything with a defender they have on the roster?
Schefter, have you heard anything about Haason Reddick and
Is there any status of him eventually showing up to this team, or is this just a lost cause at this
Yeah,
point?
because Woody was recruiting. Woody was openly recruiting yesterday.
Come
He's like,
on
you know what? Now
down.
that I got a microphone,
Let's drive on down.
Fire the coach. Haason Reddick, you come on back.
Get in
come
your
on.
car.
On 95. Come on up.
When is the last time that you've heard like an owner making a public plea to a player to come in, right?
Yeah, legit. That's why yesterday was a big day for old Woody. He's out there swinging the water around. Do we think this is getting settled or
money, right?
Well, here's what I would say on Haason Reddick. There have been a lot of ups and downs in this situation, a lot that's gone on behind the scenes. And ultimately, until he's in there, in the facility, which who knows if it'll ever happen, he's not there. Like, there have been a handful of times where I think people thought it was getting close, where he would come in, and he didn't. So
got it.
We could think he might be coming in today, and he doesn't. We could think he might be coming in, and he doesn't. Again, there have been a lot of false alarms in this Haason Reddick situation, more than probably people realize, and it hasn't happened. And Haason obviously is bothered by a lot of different things that have gone on. He's disappointed by the fact that he hasn't got the contract. He's not there. He's still not there now. You know what? With all due respect to Woody, rather than making a public plea, wasn't Woody getting his own escort and drive and go visit with Haason and make that plea in person?
A helicopter, maybe. Just make it a quicker trip so you don't have to hit me.
Isn't it better to do that face-to-face than through the media? Like, that's what I would. If I owned the team and it was that important to me, I would get in front of that guy and explain to him how important you are to our team and how much it would mean for you to come in and what a difference you can make, and say whatever it is that you can do for him. Let him hear it from you in person rather than on a conference call to the reporters.
So we're assuming that hasn't happened yet behind closed doors, it sounds like.
Not that I know of. Maybe it has, but not that I know of.
Why doesn't he just take one of those iced out necklaces down there and say, hey, listen, you want $30 million worth of these every single year? You got it. Okay, I'll just start unloading these. If Woody Johnson is able to recruit Haason Reddick back into the fold this year, after doing that, and then Haason Reddick has a good season, and the Jets go on to win a Super Bowl, Woody Johnson is going to be floating in a helicopter above every building like Jerry Jones does. Yeah. Could you fathom that? I mean, there's a lot on the line here for the Woody Johnson conversation going forward. Now, let's talk about conversations happening in other places, maybe text messages. D-Bud has a question for you.
Yeah, Adam, I believe it was kind of maybe around this time, maybe a few weeks later last season, where you said 7, potentially 8 new head coaches will be coming in because guys will be fired. Obviously, we just had our first one with Robert getting fired. Any potential coaches on the hot seat, or is it too early for that?
Well, D-Bud, it's never too early, I guess, to dial up the pressure. It's always hunting season in the NFL. Again, I've already had people call me. You know, the funny thing is, this is true. I had an owner call me on Monday, and he's like, how many openings are we expecting this year? And I thought it was an interesting question. And it was the first time it had come up until you now have asked me a second time. And we kind of went over teams, and we counted on Monday 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 potential spots. Now, again, I don't think it'll be that many. But there were like 8 places that you're looking at and you're saying, here's a spot I'm watching, including the Jets. We have that listed. And he was asking about that, and then sure enough, on Tuesday, like 12 hours later, the Jets fire Robert Saleh. And the fact of the matter is, there are 6, 7, 8 changes every year in the NFL, and the chances are that there'll be 6, 7, 8 more after this season. It's just how things go. It's become part of the sport.
Vrabel's available. Belichick's available. There's numerous Slowick, Johnson, Pete Carroll. I mean, there's a lot of names out there for owners to potentially Flores,
Aaron Glenn
up there. There's numerous owners can get a little wake up.
How about the guys in Washington? Cliff Kingsbury's doing a great job. Anthony Lynn's doing their run game as head coaching experience.
John Gruden's feeling nicey.
I mean, there's a lot of guys out there.
You haven't seen John Gruden feeling nicey.
He's doing some cool TikTok videos.
Oh yeah.
I'd say. Run.
Yeah. John Gruden's doing football again. His Twitter, his TikTok, everything. Gruden loves football. Mm-hmm. What is it about Gruden loves football?
And he does.
And he will. I don't know if he's sending emails in. Go ahead.
Here's a fun little John Gruden story. So we do these meetings before the draft every year. And this had to be, well, it was a year he was doing the draft. So they go around the room and they say, all right, let's go through the room here and talk about what everybody knows. Let's start with Chris Mortensen. Mort, what do you know? And Mort's like, well, this team is moving up. This team, that. All right, Schefter, what do you know? I say it. They go, all right, John, what do you know? He goes, I got a phone too, you know. And he starts rattling off information.
He's an insider.
Beast.
Just the way he says everything, it's entertaining. Gruden, everything.
Yeah,
you can listen to that guy all day.
These TikTok videos, very low lit, not great.
Yep.
Not high. I don't know who's editing it. Maybe him.
On his face.
Maybe him. And it is just 108 on the paint, just like Schefty every time. We appreciate the hell out of you, brother, Adam Schefter.
Hey, last thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to apologize for cutting into J.J. Watt's airtime here. Like, I know I took up some of his time. So, as the owner of Burnley, I want to make sure that he knows that I apologize, and we should get JJ on here as soon as possible to get his brilliant insights.
Okay. Schefty, I don't know what that was. I don't like it.
Sounds like someone's scared of JJ Watt.
Yeah, you trying to keep was JJ one of your plugs? How was your relationship with JJ? You know JJ well?
I love JJ.
Is that right?
We'll ask him, I guess. Can't wait to talk to him.
Why do you say it like that?
Yeah, it was an interesting answer. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Schefter.
I'm a big JJ fan. Send him my best.
Okay, all right.
Shefty.